one move from depression to happiness? Maybe that's the solution. If you want to look at it from a problematic perspective, how one moves from happiness to depression. So it is how you look at these perspectives. Okay. What is happiness? The basic question is, what is happiness? I think I'll be sounding a little philosophical, at some places, because psychology was born out of philosophy. So definitely we have to talk certain philosophy here. So my first slide asks you a question. Maybe you need not answer this because I think we don't have time for an interactive session as like a classroom, but you ask yourself, what do you mean by happiness? I will give you some examples, or I will, at the end of my session, will know what psychologists think about happiness. But now as a layman, ask yourself, what is happiness? Maybe for some of us, it is achieving a goal, right? We all know, you ask anybody who is next to you, you ask this question, what is happiness? You won't get an answer immediately. Maybe if you ask an question like this, when will you be happy? Then people will be able to say easily, I'll be happy if I achieve this. I'll be happy if I pass this exam. I'll be happy if I get this. So answer to the question, what, is very difficult, whereas answer to the question, when, is very easy. Because we are always connecting happiness with something that we want to achieve. Then we think, okay, if I achieve, then I'll be happy. Means happiness has been thoroughly misunderstood as a construct by all of us, as to it is a state that we achieve once we reach a particular point. That's how we all think. Maybe achieving a goal will give you happiness. For some of you, success in a career may be happiness. Having a lot of money may be happiness. But again, happiness can be looked upon from a two different perspectives by philosophers. For example, philosophers like Thomas Hobbes, who promoted something called hedonism. Maybe you can Google and find out. Hedonism is a principles of pleasure. What you do in hedonistic approach of happiness is nothing but pleasure. For most of us, happiness is nothing but pleasure. Pleasure means bodily pleasure, pleasure of a company, pleasure of people around you, pleasure of enjoying something. Means something should be there for you to feel happy. For example, you feel happy about Friday evenings. Why? Think about Friday evenings, most of us. For those, Saturday is a holiday. For those, Saturday is not a holiday, Saturday evenings. Right? Why we feel happy about that? Because we think about the pleasures, maybe the rest, maybe the programs that we have, maybe the hanging out program, maybe the good food that we are planning to cook, or maybe something else would give you pleasure, bodily pleasure, physical pleasure, pleasure of a company, even sometimes a psychological pleasure. Pleasure means something that you enjoy. So hedonic aspect of pleasure is what most of us consider as happiness. Many of us work hard so that we make money. What do you do with the money? So with that money, you can buy things like a car, bungalow, maybe visits abroad, meeting people, do whatever you want. Ultimately, the root is you want to enjoy pleasure out of this money. Another aspect of happiness is how you experience life and how you interpret what is happening in your life, and that alone will lead to happiness. Means I'm talking about happiness without any or without much external rewards. For example, if you think that happiness can be achieved only when you are living in a big bungalow and living in a big apartment and having all that you need, then what about people who don't have all that? What about people who have very minimal existence and still living happy? Means happiness can be interpreted from a different perspective of how you interpret your life and what is happening in your life and how you connect it with your own self. So that is internal happiness, we say. So all I'm trying to emphasize here is happiness is not just pleasure. Happiness can be derived from many other aspects, which I'm going to discuss now. This is a very famous theory in psychology. Psychology students, please excuse me because you might have studied this 1,000 times. You can take a small break for a few minutes. I'm going to talk about something which is again very close to my heart and something, a simple theory which gives life in a nutshell. So I was thinking twice before I include this into this. Then I thought, okay, I should definitely include, because this is one way of one psychological approach to what is life and what do you need in life. For example, for those who have never gone through this theory or gone through this discussion, please ask yourself, what is that you need the most in life? I tell you, these questions are very, very serious questions. For example, who am I? Questions I asked in the beginning, what will give you happiness? Questions like, what do you need in life? I tell you, don't think these are all easy questions, and don't worry if you're not able to answer now, because these are all the questions great philosophers, great scientists, and great spiritual seekers asked themselves and spent, years to find an answer. When they found an answer, they become legends. So finding an answer to these questions is wisdom. So if you don't know the answer, don't worry, but start thinking in those, keeping those questions in your mind. For example, need hierarchy theory, as I'm presenting to you now, says that you have different priority for needs. Don't think you need a lot of things in your life and you need everything in the same quantity. For example, whatever is at the bottom are the most important needs. Means the physiological needs are the most important ones. Breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion. These are all something that maintains your body, something which will make you alive, something which will give you, kind of homeostasis means equilibrium. Something without this you cannot live, are the most important needs. Some of you may not agree with me, sir. How can you say food and water are very important? To me, I have higher goals, so certain other things are important. Of course, the need hierarchy theory itself admits that there are certain individual differences. But I want to ask you, you will know the importance of food only when you are starving. You will know the importance of water only when you are thirsty. So have you kept yourself starving for a few days? Then if you still say food is not the most important need, then I would definitely agree with you. For example, people like Mahatma Gandhi has proved this theory wrong, because they were ready to forego their physiological need for something above. So those are people who are exemptions, but for ordinary people, common people, we every day we crave for the basic needs. Physiological needs comes first. Then once you get the basic needs, once you are sufficiently fed, once you have enough water, once you have enough money to buy all these things, the next need is you have this, together. You want to have this continuous in your life. Then comes the security needs, physiology, your body, your family, everything that belongs to you will be protected in future. Once these two needs are satisfied, you find friends, intimacy with others, kind of join club. You are coming forward and meeting people and trying to interact with them. That means it's called belongingness need. But once you have a set of people, once you have a network of people, then you need some place among them. If you have people, then you should really prove yourself to them. So that's Abraham Maslow who developed this theory. Self-actualization is something like you want to do the best of things that you have, or doing something that you are born, or doing something so that you are trying to do something that you are capable of. Something like what people do when they do charity, something like what people do when they do meditation, something like when you feel happy, when you help somebody and the person, because of your help, the person felt very, feel relieved from a problem. What you feel inside your heart is called self-actualization. So self-actualization is called higher order needs. But what is very important here is The first three needs or even the four needs are called lower order needs. The bodily needs, the pleasure needs that I'm talking about, the pleasure part of happiness. Last one, partially the fourth one, is called the real happiness. Means people feel that happiness, the sense of being, the sense of happiness, the sense of accomplishment, the sense of presence only when they realize what are their inner needs. So I'm emphasizing here that we should not stop at the very basic three levels. To realize what is real happiness, one should go beyond these three basic needs. Let us talk about depression and stress, because that's also part of it, right? I will talk about happiness from the perspective of depression. Actually, do you think depression is a problem? Do you think stress is a problem? Actually, it is not. If you think depression or stress or anxieties or issues or fear, they are all bad, then you are wrong. And you are thinking against what is called nature. Nobody in this world will be born without a fear, without a moment of being depressed, without being anxious, or without being stressed. The only difference is to what degree you are stressed or depressed, how long you are stressed and depressed, and to an extent, very importantly, how you try to overcome those. That's where most of us differ. Somebody who commits suicide, what that person thinks, life is hopeless, life is helpless, life is meaningless. Means I'm not good, the world is not good, it is better to end my life. But in the same situation, you will see somebody thrives. Then what is the difference? Because the problem is we don't understand the stress and the stress process. Look at the evolutionary psychology says about stress. Evolutionary psychology is a psychology based on Darwinian. Stress and aggression means it helps you to adapt. Imagine you are not stressed with or you are not depressed, or you are not anxious about something. You will not realize the problem. You will not try to find solution. You will not try to grow development than emotional development. The only problem is, for example, I will ask you the simple question. Among all the species of the animal kingdom, why human beings are considered the most advanced? You ask this question to yourself. Why human beings are so powerful? For example, we came from monkeys, right? Literally, we came from monkeys. It is like evolution says, different species, and finally we became humans. And maybe after few thousand years, there may be another species better than us. But we are the kings, we are the rulers as of today in the animal kingdom. Why? In terms of biological mechanism, there was one simple thing that made us excel everything that we excel today. The cognitive area, or the prefrontal cortex, I'm talking in an anatomical sense, the prefrontal, the brain region just behind your forehead, the prefrontal cortex for human being and animals. So it is that prefrontal cortex and the gray matter that is bigger in human brain that makes, and the connections and the neurons and the kind of neural pathways that we have. It's a kind of just 200 or 300 grams more of brain connections that is making us different from everything. But if you look at the same brain for the cognitive areas, cognitive area means thinking areas, the decision-making areas, the areas of brain through which we learn, which is better. But whereas the areas of fear, worry, threat, there is another area in the brain which corresponds to your fear, worries, and stress that is actually not very well different from monkeys. What I'm trying to say here is the evolution has made us much better in terms of thinking processes, whereas we are not very much different from animals. The limitations of emotional processing is still there in human beings compared to animals. That is why we unnecessarily worry about things. That is why we don't use our learning, we don't use our cognitive power. Sometimes we surrender to our emotional development. For example, when it comes to intelligence, we think like humans. When it comes to depression, we think like rats and monkeys. I'm just giving an example in a layman term. Means we are not much different because those areas of brains have not developed much. That is one of the reasons I have cited some papers you can read. That's why we fear a lot. That's why we worry a lot. That's why the kind of the suicide is something which is very specific to human beings. You can't say animal suicide. Suicide is one of the most, I would say, it is a moment where a human being comes, the evolutionary miscalculations. Means it is a moment where the human being thoroughly, misunderstands what he is really capable of. Because there is no need for human beings to suicide. There is nothing in the world that should warrant you commit suicide because you have everything with you to overcome the problem. You have to just think differently. It's not change what is in front of you. You have to just change how you perceive the threat. I tell you, there is a philosophy called Stoic philosophy developed by Greek philosophers. Epictetus. There is one Greek philosopher called Epictetus. He once said, the remarkable thing about human life is your life will change remarkably, significantly, not by altering the events, but just changing your perspective towards that event. I will give an example. Suppose you are threatened by something. Suppose you feel worried about something. You are depressed about something. The solution is very simple. Suppose you cannot change what is threatening you. Absolutely no. You don't have to change what is worrying you, what is threatening you. You have to just change the way you look at that problem. With little modifications in your cognitive mechanisms, with little modifications in the way you think, the way you process the problem, you can overcome the problem. That is what many people have shown in their life. See, we are not giving examples from great people. Even ordinary people have shown this. In clinical therapies, we have seen this. In counseling, we have seen these lectures like this. People have realized that they can change their lives by just changing their viewpoints. For example, how do you handle stress and all that? So this is something that I want to emphasize here because there is a lot of daylight robberies happening in the name of psychology. I'm sorry, I'm a little heavy on this term. How do you beat stress? Go for XYZ methods. Starting from drinking water in the morning to having, doing a particular very difficult yoga is taught for thousands of rupees. Enroll in a program, you spend 10,000 rupees, you spend 1 week with us, you can beat the stress. You drink this water, you drink this herb, you drink this, you do that, you do this, and pay us money, credit, RTGS number is given. Now, due to COVID-19, there is daylight robbery. You have a program, 5 days program, every day 2 hours. Then you are certified in stress management and you start conducting programs. And what do they suggest? Do this, your stress will go. You do that, your stress will go. I'm not saying those techniques are bad. I will give you an analogy that is given in many of the ancient texts in India. If you look at sometimes, if you look at the elephants which are there in the forest, what they will do is they will go to water, take a thorough dip in the water, enjoy bathing. Then they will come back to the soil and again apply all the mud on their body. Again, they will go and take shower or take a bath, and again they will come and apply all the mud in the body. That's exactly what happens when you go for stress management. When you try to solve your life problems, when you enroll in programs, when you think the stress management solution comes from outside, that's exactly what happens. You feel happy after listening to your talk. You feel happy after watching a YouTube video, or you feel happy after enrolling in a retreat program. That is fantastic. You pay 25,000 rupees, good. But your stress will come back to you the moment you are living your regular life. Why? Because you haven't understood what is the root cause of your problem. The problem has psychological roots. The problem is deep rooted in you. It is not outside, it is inside you. Unless you change, unless you make steps to yourself, it is not a permanent solution. Okay, why do we think, what leads to, what retards our happiness? Okay, forget about philosophy. Sir, I'll give an example I used to give. Maybe I have my friend who attitude. You also might, some of you might have such friends. You yourself may be somebody like that. Whenever India and England is India, Australia, but when India finally won the match, he'll be very happy. So you thought that he is expecting India to lose. Actually, he wants, because what into his own mind is survival strategy. So that when India loses, he will tell himself, see, whatever I said has happened. I'm a very good predictor. So, imagine you follow this technique when you go to interviews, when you write exams. I will fail in the exam. I will fail in the interview. I will fail in the exam. So when you fail the interview, okay, you think, okay, I fail in the interview. I'm happy that I fail in the interview. Do you really get happiness in the interview? No. So it is a kind of strategy that we use. Try think negatively. So it is like preparing for the worst kind of scenario. By thinking negatively, by programming yourself negatively, you get a very minor benefit that at the end of the day, you feel that, okay, I predicted this already. That is not life. Life is not about predicting your failures. Life is about living your life successfully, right? So overuse of this pessimistic thinking is one of the problems. Another concept was the discovery of Second World War. Learned helplessness. What is learned helplessness? Before I explain this, I will show you this. This was an experiment through which psychologists demonstrated learned helplessness that has got a lot of link with the depression and anxiety and worry. This particular experiment, I'm showing only one part of the experiment. Imagine this, the dog is kept in this chamber. This chamber is divided into two parts. Actually, in this photo, the dog is trying to jump from one section to the other section. This is the end of the experiment. I just want to show you the positive ones. Actually, the beginning of the experiment, the dog actually cannot jump from this left side to right side. It is fixed onto the left side. And left side, you see the shock grid flow. The dog will be given shock while it is inside the left chamber, and it cannot do anything. It cannot initial experiment. So the dog was kept in the chamber. The shock was given. The dog went through pain, agony, all that. He doesn't know what to do. He tried to do this, that, try jumping, dancing, shouting, barking. Nothing happened. Then after some time, the dog realized that I have to just go through this pain. After few trials, after few days of giving the shock to the dog repeatedly, one day the scientist came and removed the hurdle so that they will be able to jump from this section to the other section. That's exactly what you see. But you know what happened? The shock was given. The scientists expected that the dog will jump and escape. The dog will come to the right side and escape. But the dog continued to stay in the left side. It did not see the opening there. It did not see an opportunity to jump the other side. What you are seeing is dog is doing it. Actually, in the original experiment, the dog did not do it immediately. Later on, the scientist prompted the dog escape like what you see now. Then realized Oh, whenever there is shock, I can see the shock. The question is why it took much time for the dog to learn that it did problem. That is called learned helplessness, as discovered by Martin Seligman. That's called fear and stress. Seligman observed, he observed you don't know when you will die. You will die today, tonight, or tomorrow, or after 1 year. Nobody will know whether the person will be alive tomorrow. Camp. You know what happened? That went on for 4 years, 5 years for some people. Imagine you are in a jail for 5 years and every minute expecting death, and you are not dying. If you die, everything is fine. We don't know. But you are not dying and expecting death every moment. When some 10 people who are marching before you were called, since you are the 11th person, you are left off. How you feel? Those 10 people never came back. You came to know that they died. You are the 11th person. You survived today. Tomorrow, again. So what happened was, after those many years of survival, a very strange thing happened. That's exactly Martin Seligman noted when you look at the photograph. Suddenly Hitler died. The Allied forces won the war. So they came running and opened all the doors, all the prison doors. Imagine a long, steel, tall doors of the jail, and prisoners are inside. All the time you have been watching outside, so many guards are standing outside, and you can never go beyond that particular door. And suddenly one morning they all got up and came out and saw the doors are wide open and there are no guards. What he should have done? What we expect is they should be running outside. They will be gushing out the doors, right? Because being captivated for so many years, and suddenly they see there is an opportunity to run. They behaved exactly like what the dog did. They did not run. They just stayed inside the prison, and they were clinging to those bars of the gates. They were not running away. They were just posing. They never realized that they have been released. So this phenomenon, Martin Seligman termed as learned helplessness. What is the connection to our own life? See, many times we think, we suffer from a problem. Many of us have childhood problems. Being counselors, we give counseling to people. 40 to 50% of the people who had some problem link it or connect it with their childhood experiences. Something happened in their childhood. Poor parenting. This is how I was grown up. This is what happened. This is how my mother raised me. This is how my father raised me. True, people suffered from economic, psychological, socio-economic, all kinds of torture and harassment. Children, as adolescents, as young adults, people go through problems. So it manifests itself into different scenarios and different problems. But what happens is, because we suffered for long, or because we find ourselves as victims of something, or because we feel that we are inferior to somebody in something, because we have been thinking like this over a period of years, we never realized that there is an opportunity for us to overcome this. What we don't realize was what was bothering you when you are 8 years or 9 years will not and should not bother you when you are 20 years old, right? You can overcome anything that you suffered when you are 8 years old, 7 years old, or whatever you had. Your past is only a past, and what happened in your past need not decide your future. Because this is a very raw thinking, I tell you. If you ask me, sir, how can somebody be so sure that I can change my future irrespective of my past? You can definitely change, because so many people have done that in their life. The problem with people who are so stubborn about your depression is, no matter how much you tell them, they'll say, sir, how do you say that, sir? How do you say that, I will be all right? How do you say that there will be light in my life? Because there are so many people who did not stand, or who are not stagnated like you. People who started walking forward had seen light in their life. You have to literally believe them. You have to literally see people who had done it. See, if you look at many people, successful people, that's what they have done. You take any sector, scientists, cinema actors, sports persons, politicians, maybe your own father, mother, you ask them how they have been living 20 years before. What was with them 20 years before? What is there with them now? They would have changed their life by simply moving forward, not stuck to their past, right? So learned helplessness is about you are stuck to your past. Something happened to me, so I can never change. Such things have happened, so I have to live and die with this. So this was my parenting, so I cannot change. My parents are not good, so I have to live like this. I did not study well, so I am going to be a dumb fellow all my life. That's not true. How? There are many people before you lived, before you have proved that. You have to just read, you have to just listen, and you have to just internalize those things into your mind. Another problem, poor interpersonal and social skills. Of course, this itself needs a separate lecture. I'm not going deeper into it. The problem is we don't give respect to the relationship. Relationship is a resource. Means relationship is a resource means what? If you know somebody well, that is equivalent to having thousands of rupees in your bank account. This is an approach you should have when you deal with relationship. Knowing one person, having a good relationship with one person, you don't know when that person will be helpful to you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
What?
Okay. So, just give me a moment. Yeah. Okay. So, no matter what kind of relationship, for example, we think that we don't need people in life. We even don't say good morning to our neighbors. We don't even recognize people who are living in the next street. We had some good friendship with somebody a long time back. We forgot their phone numbers. We don't get connected with them. See, we don't get connected with our own siblings. See, one thing about one of the markers of depression, markers means something that will predict depression or even to some extent psychotic problems, is not having a good friendship. Everyone should have at least few friends with whom you can share your feelings. It's not that your friends are going to solve your problems many times, but sharing with them helps. So not having close friends, not having intimate relationship, or not trusting friendship, not trusting relationship is something that tells you something is wrong with the way you look at the problem. Because one thing about relationship, I would always say in relationship, you should not pull relationship hard. What is pulling relationship hard? You should not have as tough as it tests for people. Only when somebody behaves this way and that way and this way, then I will be in a good relationship. So there are some people who would be your soulmates. There are some people who are just good to be your acquaintance. There are some people who are good to be your occasional friends. Keep everybody at their level. Don't expect somebody who can be your acquaintance trying to make that person as your soulmate. You cannot have. All that you need is few soulmates or few close friends, and rest are all relationship of convenience. At least you must know you should be able to maintain a relationship and not develop a lot of conflict with people. And another aspect of negative thinking is thinking about the road not taken. I want you to read this poem. Maybe it's a fantastic poem. Some of you might be already knowing. Every year when I start my semester class, I start with this poem. When we start teaching the very first batch, fresh faces, I start teaching with this poem because that's what we all do. We choose something, then think about what was not chosen. You said yes to one guy yesterday. Maybe your parents arranged some groom selection. Then you said yes to somebody. Then the moment you said yes to somebody, thinking of some alternate options, you'll not be at peace when you start thinking about the road not taken. There is a beautiful Tirukural, and I would quote, it's in Tamil, maybe I will translate, that says, Enni tuniga karumam, tunidapin ennamam என்பது இடுக்கு. Means, think 1,000 times before taking a decision. But thinking even once after taking a decision is nothing but debacle. You cannot think after taking a decision. The road not taken is the road that has to be forgotten. You have taken a decision, then follow that road. Don't think about what you have not become. So many of us pessimistic thinkers make this dialogue. I should have done that long time back. Sometimes people who study psychology, my own student have told me, sir, I should have studied computer science. I should have studied management. Somebody who is studying history saying, I should have studied literature. Somebody who studied engineering, now they say, I should have studied psychology. This I should have done that is exactly his road not taken. The road not taken is a very, very bad idea of thinking. In the sense, the road that you have not taken means you have to think of the road that you have taken and traveled. Maybe you have taken a road that is less traveled, a road where there is no help, but still you focus. So I want to quote this anonymous thing that you might have seen this in many places. Happiness is not at the end of the road, it's along the way. So we think happiness is after achieving this, I'll be happy. After doing this, I'll be happy. After becoming a successful, passing an exam, I'll be happy. I tell you, you will not be happy. I will quote Buddha in asking you this question. When a big rich man, what is the way? Then Buddha asked him a few questions. Okay. Ask yourself, you have been trying for something so badly, right? Imagine you wanted to, get admitted somewhere, something, and you got that admission. Imagine somebody wanted to join a medical college, which a person has been preparing for the past 10, 12 years, dreaming about joining a medical college. So what you'll be thinking, oh, the day I get my medical seat, I'll be the happiest person in the world. So that person will be craving, dreaming, thinking, obsessed about getting a seat, right? Two questions Buddha asks you now. One, how long you are happy when you got that medical seat? You have been waiting for it for 10 years. You got the medical seat admission letter. How many days you will be happy with that admission letter? Hardly few hours. You have been trying for something for so many years. You go to the person and ask the next day, he'll be telling, I got my medical seat. I don't know where I will be posted. I got my medical seat. I don't know whether I will pass the exam. I got my medical seat. I don't know how I will go through all that. How your mind plays games with you. You will never be happy if you follow that route. You want something? Go. For example, I will give you a lot of examples from life. What do you think about love marriage? Many of us, some of you are in a relationship. You'll be so, fantasized about your love marriage, right? Oh, I'm in a relationship. The girl says, yes, I'll be the happy person in the world. Oh, I want to be in a relationship with that guy. The guy says, yes, I'll be the happy person. My life will be so happy. People who are in a love relationship, to go and ask them, they will give you in writing that we'll be the most happy people in the world once we both get married. Right? That's the next question that Buddha gives you. Buddha says, you are craving for something, right? And you think that you will be happy if you got it. Go and ask some fellow who already got that. Is he really happy? Means, go and ask those people who already got love married. Do you think all of them are very happy? You go to Madras Family High Court of Family Court in Madras. 30 to 40% of the people who file divorce cases are love married people. For your information, if you talk about love marriage, please ping me, because I did my PhD on love marriages. So I can tell you a lot of stories about how love sucks after some time. You ask those people whom you find in cinema theaters, people who talk that they are soulmates, they are thick and thin. I found my best partner in the world, all those things. After 2 years, you knock their road on and see, they will say that the road not taken. I should have selected someone else. Because that's the mind game. This is the two questions Buddha asked. Are you really happy? When you said you will be happy after getting this, but you won't be happy perennially. And you say something will give you happiness. There are thousands of people who already got this in their life, what you are craving for. They are not just happy with that. Because your choice of happiness, the route that you are choosing for happiness is not real happiness. Right? Are you able to see this? I think just give me a moment. I have some malfunction here. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Maybe some psychology students know what this is. This is one of the very famous experiments that were done in psychology, which is, again, I love this experiment. And the lessons that this experiment teaches, it was done by one Brady, Professor Brady, 1958. You can go and Google this. You can get a lot of information. You'll see two monkeys are fixed onto a chamber. You can see one monkey is trying to press something, the left side monkey. The other monkey's hands are tied. Carefully listen. I'm going to ask a question at the end. Right? You can see two monkeys. One monkey is tied. One monkey is tied, and the right side monkey, the left side monkey, you can see from the photo that the monkey can operate something. What Brady did was, he got two monkeys, kept them in a chamber. As usual, they'll be administered shock. Both of them will get shocks. Means both of them will be given pain. But one monkey, by pressing the button there, it can stop the electric shock to both the monkeys. See, both the monkeys are in the nearby chambers. They cannot communicate. One monkey can stop the electricity by pressing the button. The other monkey don't have any option, simply receive shock or keep quiet. Right? So, what Brady wanted to measure here was, which monkey will die of ulcer soon? The study was the digestive psychophysiological reactions of stress. So both the monkeys are going to be thoroughly stressed. Animal lovers, please excuse, because sometimes we have to conduct these kind of experiments to know something, because this experiment was strongly criticized later on by animal lovers. But the experiment was framed like that. The experimenter wanted to know which monkey developed more ulcer. Very simple. Ulcer means if you are constantly in stress, you will have developed ulcer, you will develop cardiovascular disease, all kinds of. In this experiment, they focused on ulcer. So Brady wanted to know one monkey which can control the stress, control the current, another monkey which cannot control. So he wanted to know which monkey develops more ulcer. This was his research question. Now I ask you, what do you think would have happened? Which monkey would have developed more ulcer, according to you?
The one which controls.
The one which controls. Okay, fine. Any other answer? Maybe one or two people. We don't have a lot of time, but still.
The one which do not controls.
Yes, this is what I expect. I need both sides. Only then I can do something, right? Okay. So there are. I hope the audience also divided into two opinions. One which controls will have more ulcer. One which doesn't do anything, because one which controls at least can control and prevent. whereas the one doesn't have no control over life, right? So Brady expected that the one which has no control should develop more ulcer. That's what Brady expected. The hypothesis was the one which has no control over its problems will have more ulcer. Very simple thinking, no? That's the natural thinking. The results were converse. The one which controlled developed more ulcer and died eventually. Died. And you see the name of that experiment. That monkey, Brady named as executive monkey. The monkey which died, the monkey which can control is called as executive monkey. The other one is called yoked monkey. The executive monkey is a fantastic name, right? Means it is executing something, it became executive monkey. Means the executive monkey experiment tells us a lot of things. You don't die of stress, but you die of thinking about stress. Very simple. The monkey did not die of shock. Now, it's only a small electric shock. Don't worry, the shock they use around are not very painful shock. They will give some 3 volt or 4 volt shock, something slightly bigger than the earthen shock that we all get. So no monkey will die of those shocks. But then why this executive died? Because this executive had realized that by pressing this bar, I can stop this electric shock. So he was very, very obsessive about, okay, when this power will come, then I have to press. Because, you know, the monkey will never know when the shock will come. The shock will come intermittently, like life, no? Life, miserable things you cannot predict when miserable things will happen. It will suddenly come. So for the monkeys also, they can't predict when the shock will come. Suddenly shock will come, then the monkey was sleeping, the shock came, then monkey has to get up and press the lever. Then monkey was dreaming, shock came, get up and press the lever. So the monkey became very obsessive about when the shock will come, when the shock will come. I should be ready. I should be ready. The shock should never hit me. So press the bar, press the bar, press the bar. That's called obsession. And you died of that oppression. Die of that obsession, because that obsession created depression. The depression manifested as stomach ulcer, and the monkey died of ulcer. Unfortunately, we can't study the depression of monkeys, especially in 1950s. No doubt that monkey not just died out of ulcer, the monkey literally died out of depression. So what we are trying to learn from this experiment was, we don't die, we don't suffer because of the problems that we actually face. We suffer how we process those problems. What the monkey should have done, the monkey has a control with it. The monkey should not have been obsessive about that. The monkey should have thought of, okay, even if the stress comes, it is only a few seconds, I will press and stop it. I have the control with me. Right? Even when let the problem come. Let me face it for a second, but I will immediately press it. I have the control with me. Why should I be worried? I have the resource with me. Why should I worry? Because life is two things. It is something like you have some problem that comes, and you also have a resource within you to solve. This is how everybody's life is designed. Nobody's life is designed only with problems. You have a problem, you have a resource. The monkey had shocks, definitely yes, but it also can control through a button. Imagine the other monkey survived for some more days. Actually, that monkey should have died because it has no control. So those who have no control also sometimes survive better than those who are depressed and obsessive. So what is that we do? One way of beating depression is thinking in terms of positive psychological approach. What is positive psychological approach? Instead of focusing always about problems, always about what I can't do, always about what I'm afraid of, always thinking about negative things, leave those negative things for a few hours in a day. Few hours in a day, think about your inner resources and strengths. Think about the moments when people appreciated you. Think about some of the things that you are comfortable in doing compared to others. Maybe a small thing. You are better than your friend in cycling. You have better extracurricular skills. You are better in interpersonal skills compared to your friend who is a class topper. Your resource is interpersonal skills, whereas your friend's resource is academics. So you have to think like that. Not everybody can be good in academics. Not everybody can be good in everything. So maybe your inner resource is something that you have done already and people have appreciated. So think about that also. Looking at problems from a strength-based approach means, okay, what is that I have to solve this problem? I have this problem, okay, but what is that I have to handle this? That's called strength-based approach. Means what is that you have to solve instead of what is that you don't have. That's the ultimate line. Improving quality in social, occupational, and personal lives of individuals. In the sense, you have to think about the multi-dimensional aspect of your life. Your life is not just about studying. Your life is not just about working. Your life is about living. Living means working, enjoying, spending time with people, family life, what you give to your family and what you give to your friends. It is not about only taking, it is also about giving. So thinking that there is a kind of equation between you and your life, no? It is always give and take. So thinking in terms of multi-dimensional aspects of life, like for example, I want to quote Narayana Murthy, Mr. Narayana Murthy, the founder of Infosys. You can also Google one of his, once he wrote a letter to all his employees, that's very famous. You can Google Narayana Murthy's letter to his employees, you will find that. Narayana Murthy, when he was the chairman of Infosys, he wrote a letter to all his employees. You know what he asked them? A software company CMD would have asked his employees to work hard, right? No. He said, please get out of the office by 5 o'clock. Please don't sit and overwork. Please, he even literally said, please get a girlfriend or boyfriend or learn some music, go to movies. Please don't sit in your office. By sitting in your office, you are only procrastinating your work. Means you are stretching your work till 8 o'clock, not that you are doing productive work. And you are sitting, by doing this, you are making a negative influence on others. On seeing you, many people who have family also are compelled to stay back, to get a good name from the boss. Because please enjoy your life, go out, whatever work you want to do it before 5 o'clock. This is what he wrote. That was it's a management lesson. Now, I know some management schools teach that as a lesson to their students as to how you should be productive during productive hours and enjoy life when you are supposed to enjoy. So happiness is not about worrying about things a lot, because that is not going to solve your problem. What is been worrying you will keep on worrying you. So I will solve this problem, then I will be happy is a very tricky route. That's exactly what Buddha, Gandhi, Martin Seligman, all these psychologists, spiritual people tell us. Happiness is about finding your inner resources. Knowing who you are actually is happiness. I want to introduce another very influential writers in psychology. Psychotherapist, literally we worship him. Viktor Frankl. One of his books was one of the most sold books in the world till today. You know what he is? He was one of the survivors of the Hitler's concentration camp. I told you about how Hitler kept people inside his camp. Though he was a psychiatrist, Hitler didn't like him. He kept him in a camp. He tortured him for 4 years. So he just survived those 4 years. Though he was a psychiatrist, he was not treated like a psychiatrist. He was treated like an ordinary, coolie worker inside his camp. And when he came out, what he found? His entire family, his wife, his parents, his children, everybody died in Hitler's camp. Except him and his sister, everybody in his family died. So he himself was depressed. He himself was shocked. And he started asking himself, why did I survive? Not only he saw many people in the camp commit suicide, died, but some people lived. So he asked that question, what is the difference between those people who lived and those people who died in the camp? So he found a very great psychological approach called meaning of life. Those who have meaning of life, why I am born, what is the purpose of my life? Purpose of my life is not just to do small things. So he found a big purpose of life. What was the purpose of life that he was finding? He thought that I am a psychiatrist. My entire family is suffering outside. So once I am released, I have to go and help them so that they all become better. So he was dreaming. Please read that book. I'm going to show that book at the end of the slide. Please read that book. Reading that book is nothing but his autobiography. Reading that autobiography itself is psychotherapy for many of us. I'll tell you, when I read that book, I had goosebumps. It was, in psychology we say peak experience. I had that kind of a feeling and inspiration by reading his book. And many people like me, millions of people have said that. You go and read the reviews in Goodreads for this book, then you'll see. And that the book, he says, life has a bigger purpose. Life is not so small that you can simply take it suicide. For example, I want to bring an example of something. A few years before, one day when I was reading newspaper, I was shocked to learn that one 10th standard student, when the results came, on seeing the results, and she has scored some less marks. She passed the exam, but she has not scored as high as marks that she wanted, and she committed suicide the very night. You know what happened? The next day, when the parents learned that when the original results came as a hard copy, she was the school topper. Because somehow somebody gave her wrong marks, and thinking that she scored less, she committed suicide the very night. But next day, the entire world learned that she was the school topper. Why that girl committed suicide? Maybe the pressure from the society, pressure from the family, pressure from everybody. I agree to that. Such a young age, it's not an age for suicide, definitely not. But what the child might have thought, my life is nothing but 10th standard exam. That's what Viktor Frankl says, You think that your life is nothing but the suffering. Imagine, I ask all of you, all the students who are here, your teachers would have played a mind game with you while you are in schools. Imagine, what did they tell you when you are studying 10th standard? Oh, 10th standard is very important exam, public exam. You have to study well, otherwise your life is gone. Then you did good in 10th standard. Then you went to +1, +2. What did they say? No, 10th standard is not very important. +1, +2 is very important. This is where your career will be decided. Study well, study well. Then you did well in +2. Then you went to college. What your college teacher said? What you did in school is not very important. You have to study well in college. That only will give you job, right? Then you went to good job. What your manager said? I don't care what marks you scored in your college. I want real productivity from you, right? People will keep on telling you. People keep on expecting from you and keep on putting you down and say that you have to do it now. No doubt you have to do it at every step. But whatever you thought that that's the end of the world, there is no end of the world. There is no end for what you are trying to prove. So you have to see a real purpose of life instead of shrinking your life to 1 or 2 small achievements and feeling bad that you are not able to achieve those small things. So Viktor Frankl's life itself is a very big lesson for all of us. I would welcome you guys to read some of his book. I'm also going to prescribe you some things like what you get in many workshops. How do you live you have to love life and live life if you really want to be happy. So balance of both body and mind is very important. You have to take care of your health. Many people in India are becoming obese. India is becoming the heart attack capital of the world. India is becoming diabetes capital of the world. A lot of experts are telling don't eat junk food, but we don't care about them. We simply order in Zomato, simply love those food. We don't care. A lot of information is coming to us, but I will do whatever I want to do. But I should be happy. Then you have to pay 25,000 rupees per month and go and attend those workshops, right? Nothing will help you unless you change. It's very important you focus on your body also. Balancing inner conflict, all that I was talking about, inner conflict only. Searching for greater meaning even in smaller things. Yes, smaller things. Find empathy. Try to be nice to people. Try to help somebody every day. Now you tried something, you say hello to somebody, make somebody smile every day. So I attended one training program where the trainer was telling us that from today we will set a goal that every day at least one person I will make smile. You tell a joke, you go and smile, you knock the doorbell of your neighbor and give him something. or say good morning to somebody who was walking. Make somebody smile, smaller things, then you will get smile back. It's not about, you have to give, only then you will get back. So being little approachable, being little openly, being little meaningful. Living here and now is a very big philosophy. We make a lot of psychotherapy out of it. That's called mindfulness and all that. So I don't have time to discuss this here. You can enroll for a workshop separately on this here and now. Means talking about the present, forgetting the past, forgetting the future, right? Health, wellness, and relationship are the three important ingredients of happiness. Health means your body health, mental health. Wellness means something that you feel that you are getting out of this health. Something the kind of good, feeling good, that is called wellness. And maintaining good relationship. These three are very important for somebody to be happy. This is the book I was talking about, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. 9 million copies sold is long time back. It should be more than that now. Classic book. Maybe a few more books. This is another book by Martin Seligman, the one who did that experiment. This is another book. I didn't talk about this book, and this is very famous. I'm okay, you are okay. It's about how you develop relationship with people. I couldn't touch upon this book. So that's all I have to say for today. So I'm open to questions, interactions.